Hey guys, Andy here from Mediocre Hobbies, coming at you with something very special. Games Workshop very kindly sent me out the new Cities of Sigmar box set for me to make some cool review videos. Cities of Sigmar is something that I've been looking forward to for a very long time. My favorite 40k army is Imperial Guard. I had a huge Empire army. I really do have a soft spot in my heart for the humble trooper, the average soldier. Super soldiers are cool, Stormcast are cool, but there's something about the grit and determination of an average human trying to fight back those crazy worlds. In today's video, I am going to tackle one of the awesome new knights and paint that up for you in today's video. I will also be adding an infantry video to my Patreon playlist as well. If you want to check that out, you'll have to check the links below and get involved with my Patreon. Before I get into the video, I do want to thank all of my active patrons for your continued support. Without you guys, I would not be able to continue doing what I'm doing. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. If you are interested in getting involved, like I said, you get extra videos every single week. So that's 52 extra videos a year. And you get access to a private Discord server. So if that's something that interests you, more than welcome to join in. Okay, without further ado, let's get painting this awesome Free Cities Knight. Okay, this is the Free Guild Cavalier miniature that I have chosen to paint for this video. It is actually the Arch Knight. So it is the sergeant of the squad. I've assembled the model completely except for the shield. I've left that off on its own little stand to make it easier to paint. These models are very highly detailed, so you do want to brace yourself for it. It is going to be slightly more time-consuming paint jobs than I think a lot of people are going to expect from these models. So just be aware of that. I gave the model a spray of Chaos Black and then a spray of Grey Seer to give myself a really nice base coat and a place to start painting the knight from. I did actually consider painting, spraying it with Lead Belcher first. As there is so much metallic on this miniature, it would have saved a little bit of time probably. But because there's going to be a lot of orange detail, I didn't want to start the orange from silver. I would much rather spend the extra 15 minutes blocking in all of the metallics and then having the nice white Grey Seer base coat to throw contrast on top of that. So with that being said, that's what I did. I grabbed Lead Belcher in a pot and I basically base coated in all of the metallic parts of this model, which is huge swathes of the armor. There's very little gold trim on these models, to be honest. But that is the second thing I did. I did grab Retributor Armor Gold. Fortunately, for some reason, I forgot to show that on the video. But yes, Retributor Armor Gold is the color I'm using now to pick up all the trim and all the extra bits and pieces of detail on the armor and get those base coated in. Obviously, the shield is very ornate, and then there is some trim on the armor. Some bits on the actual rider himself. And then a few other bits and pieces. I obviously have the army book in front of me open, as these guys are not on the community or websites just yet, so I don't get to just look at 360s like you guys will get to, so I'm a little bit jealous of that fact. But yeah, just kind of picking and choosing where I want the gold to be. You can do more, you can do less, that's totally up to you. I'm basing this color scheme off of the Hammerhal Aqsha color scheme, mainly because orange is my favorite color. I think those knights are going to look absolutely spectacular, so I'm going to go with that for now. From here, we jumped over to Agros Dunes and used that to base coat in the horse color. I'm going for a tan horse for the sergeant. Whether or not I decide to do all the horses the same color or decide to mix and match them, I still haven't quite decided yet. I do actually quite enjoy painting horses. Did a video a few weeks ago on painting different horse schemes. I did 3 horse schemes in a single video, so perhaps I'll reference that and maybe paint up a few different schemes. This is another one where obviously getting the base coat in this model was so easy with the horse now because I left it that Grey Seer. You can just throw the contrast right over it. Contrast Gryph-Hound Orange was used to base coat in basically the main color of this miniature, which is that orange. I do love orange being my favorite color. So I'm going to use this to start the process. The orange is of course going to be the most, not arduous because I quite enjoyed the process, but the most intensive part of this miniature is going to be getting a really nice solid orange scheme on the different parts of the model that require it. And there is actually quite a few bits and pieces tucked away. And these knights are not as uniformed as I personally think I would have liked. They're all a little bit different, which is fine. They all come from different households. Which is okay, which means you just got to pay attention to make sure you're getting all the color in the right spots. Some have less, some have more. That's just up to you. Gore Grunt of Fur was then brought in to base coat in some of the remaining saddle parts. It's not a lot, but it's just a nice warm color that I think works a treat for the wood that goes around his saddle. Why he's got wood around his saddle, I don't really know, but he seems to. After that, we're going to use Black Templar, and for me, this is going to be used on all of the barding, straps, and leathers, everything that holds the horse's armor on, and the reins, and any of those bits and pieces. I didn't want to kind of introduce any more warm browns into it. I don't want to dilute the orange with that, so black was my color of choice. It being kind of like a non-color, your eye doesn't really pick it up or notice it. I think the gold, silver, and orange is more than enough kind of going on with this model without adding anything else into it. Okay, with all the barding done, starting to see some real progress. So it's time to shade the model. So I'm going to go for Nuln Oil, and I'm going to shade the entire miniature with this. We want that really dark steel look, that dark iron look that the Hammerhal scheme seems to have. So Nuln Oil is going to be the obvious choice with this. I'm also going to use it to shade down the horse. And every other bit and piece, even the orange is going to be hit with the black. And that's okay, it's just going to add some nice dark shading into it. So when we go to layering up, it's going to be really simple. And it's going to give us a really nice kind of rough and ready look. So here it is after the shade has dried. I've added some texture paste to the base. This will magically get dry brushed later on. So I'm going to break my rule now. I'm going to jump over to Fanatic Orange from the Too Thin Coats range of paints, as I'm not a massive fan of any of the oranges from Games Workshop. They're all a little bit too kind of weak in pigment to get a solid coat. So I'm going to be going for the mid-tone and the highlight from the Too Thin Coats Orange range to give me the kind of color that I really want to achieve with this. So like I said, Fanatic Orange is the first one, or the mid-tone will you, because I've used the contrast as the base paint. And as you can see, it already gives a much stronger, a more natural looking orange. I absolutely love how this looks. And we're going to follow through with the orange flare. And obviously go for a much lighter highlight with this color. Just kind of going for the sharp edges and the highest points of creases. Obviously the Sigmar motif down the side of it, I'm going to go in and highlight that up with this, just to really make it stand out. Now I do go in a little bit later on with the orange shade as like a glaze back over the orange to help pull those highlights and layers together a bit more. But we want this orange to fully dry first, so before we do that, we're going to jump over and highlight a few other parts, mainly the horse. For that, I'm going to go for Xandri Dust. And I'm going to do one simple highlighted coat of Xandri Dust across the entire horse. Nothing crazy, nothing spectacular. Obviously this horse is not really the primary focus of this miniature because so much of the horse is covered up by plate armor. So it doesn't take much to get it looking neat and tidy and like a nice war horse. From here, this is like I said, I'm going to go with that orange shade. And treat it like a glaze, just put it back over all those orange details, add a little bit more warmth back into it, and to help all those layers and highlights blend in together a little bit more. And that's how I'm going to leave the orange with that shade coat. Yeah, I really like the result that I did achieve. And I can definitely see myself painting up the other knights to match this scheme, even though that's not really what they want you to do. Maybe I'll do the other four as different schemes. We'll have to wait and see. Lead Belcher was then brought in, and I used this to re-highlight up all of the armor and the gold trim parts. Obviously, it's a lot lighter of a coat. I want to leave that nice dark Nuln Oil shade in the recesses and crevices. And on the gold, all I'm looking to do is add a few scratches and a few kind of touch highlights. Really sharp edges. We'll get a little line. Yeah, some rivets. Nothing too crazy. Of course, do this across the entire miniature. And it will give you a nice, clean and sharp looking knight. I also added the transfers at this stage. A little bit of Cadian Fleshtone was used to highlight the minuscule amount of skin on show with this model, which is just a small bit of his face on show. Lots of the knights have fully enclosed armored canopies, so like there will literally be no skin on show. But this sergeant is quite brave and wants to issue orders with a clear and authoritative voice, so he's left his visor off. And with that, that will be the completed Arch Knight of the new beautiful Cities of Sigmar Knights. I absolutely love how he turned out. It definitely was slightly more intensive than I would have imagined. So painting up a whole army of these guys is something you really want to consider before getting stuck in. That's why I'm tempted to do a bunch of different schemes from different cities, so I don't get too kind of maddened by the scheme. There we have it, one awesome knight painted up and ready for the tabletop. I've made the decision that there's too many beautiful color schemes inside of the Cities of Sigmar book, and I think what I'm going to do is a conglomeration of basically units sent from different cities to bolster this army. So I might do absolutely every single unit in a different city scheme because they're all gorgeous, and I would quite like to see that. With that being said, I've shown you guys two paint schemes already today, one on my knight and one for the Patreon video for the infantry. So let me know if there's any other cities out there that you want to see first, and maybe I'll get around to them soon. Okay guys, thank you so much for sticking around to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you give it a like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed. It does make a huge difference. And ask me anything you want in the comments below, and I will get back to each and every one of you. All right, thank you guys so much. I'll see you in the next one.